Hello, welcome back to Animated Literacy. This is lesson number 38 from the Story, Song, and Action book. In this lesson, we're going to be learning a new sound and a new gesture. But instead of just having one character, as we do for most of our sounds and gestures, we're going to have two characters. And so our first character is Griselda Green, and here's Griselda. And this is a picture of Griselda Green, and her story takes place on Halloween night. And so here are the ghosts that she gets to meet on Halloween night. Our second story is about a goose. So here's Gilda Goose, and here's her picture. And her story doesn't have anything to do with Halloween, so the stories are completely different. Her story is based on rewriting or adapting the old story of the goose that laid the golden egg. But what the stories have in common is both of them teach the same sound and both of them use the same gesture. So here you have a choice. You can choose to just teach the story that best suits your needs and preferences, or if you wish, you can choose both stories and just have more ways to help children remember the new sound and gesture. So before we get started, in our last character lesson, we learned about Baby Barnaby, and we learned that Baby Barnaby bows to his audience to gesture his sound. So you can bow this way by putting your arm across your stomach, another arm behind your back, and you can bow to your audience while they're clapping, or some bow like this. So whichever way you choose to bow, we go ba. Then in our last lesson, we drew a picture of a bus, and here's a puzzle from the Story, Song, and Action book that you can do for your bus. And our puzzle reads, Mom ran to the bus. So you can draw your picture of Mom running to the bus, put the words back in the right order, fold it, and copy the sentence on the back and illustrate it. Now, before we go into Griselda Green's story, let's do just a little bit of practice with Baby Barnaby. So here is Baby Barnaby bowing, and here's our bus that we drew a picture of. What sound would the horn on the bus make? Well, one sound it could make is beep. So let's pretend to honk the horn on the bus and go beep, beep. And that's the sound it would make for Baby Barnaby. But if this was Crazy Camel's bus, and here she is catching, her bus is going to do what? Keep, keep. Say that after me. Keep, keep. And here's Farley Fox. What is Farley doing? He's either fishing or he's fiddling. And what's his sound? So if we do Farley Fox, what's his horn going to say? Feep, feep. And if we do Jenny Jaguar, what's Jenny's going to say? Here she is juggling. So their horn is going to go what? Jeep, 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 jeep. See if you can do this next one before me. What's Rosie Raccoon's horn going to say? You can go riding, reap, reap, roping, reap, reap. And here's Hippie Hippo, and he's humming that hot air into his harmonica. So what is his horn saying? Heap, 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 heap. See if you can do this one before me. What's Timmy Tiger doing? Tickling. And so what's his horn saying? Teep, 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 teep. And what's Sadie Seal doing? Surfing, or she could be surfing on her surfboard. And what is her horn saying? Seep, 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 seep. Let's do a little bit of practice with our vowels. Let's use a banana today for our vowels. So let's count how many syllables are in banana. Ready? Banana. So head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Banana is 3 syllables. So if actress Annie eats the banana, what are we going to call it? Show me adding. Banana. You say that. Banana. Can you do Arnie Aardvark's banana before I do? Ready? Grab your high bar. Bar, nar, nar. Again. Bar, nar, nar. And if Ollie Ostrich eats it, here we are going to the doctor. What does his banana say? Ba-na-na. And here's Uncle Upton, and what does his banana say? Point up. Ba-na-na. Let's switch to another one that also has 3 syllables. So now if we eat a potato, potato, 3 syllables. If Uncle Upton eats it, what's it called? Pa-ta-ta. And if Eve eats it, here she is leaping over her green trees. Eee! Now it's P-T-T. But if Ike eats it, here he is riding up into the sky and going, "I." So what does it say now? Pie-tie-tie. Now let's try a couple of those with our song. So if we have potatoes and bananas, and we have Arnie Aardvark, it would sing like this. Arnie likes to art, 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 par-tartars and barnarnars. Once more. Arnie likes to art, 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 par-tartars and barnarnars. What about actress Annie adding? What are they now? Annie likes to at, patatas and bananas. Again, Annie likes to at, patatas and bananas. So you can try some of the other vowel sounds along with that song. Okay, so now we're ready to go into our new character. What's the first thing we always do before talking about a new character? We need to talk about what we already know. So one of the first topics that we can be discussing is gardening. And you may have a garden at your school, and this is a Skybrary book about gardening. So you can talk with your parent or your teacher about what kinds of things you have to do to make sure that the plants in your garden grow so that you have something to eat. And this is a book called Our School Garden. And a lot of schools have gardens. Or you might have a garden in your backyard, or there might be a garden that you can visit. Then our second book is also about gardening, but this is about a very famous man. And here he is here. And this is also a Skybrary book. And this is called In the Garden with Dr. Carver. Now, George Washington Carver, that you see here, is very famous because long time ago, he was born like back in 1886. And as a little child, he didn't go out and work in the garden because he was always sick. So he got to stay in the house. Because he stayed in the house, the people who owned the mansion that he stayed in taught him how to read and write. So he was able to go on to school, which a lot of the children back at that time weren't able to do. And he went on and he got a Bachelor of Science degree, then he got a doctoral degree, and he was able to help the farmers grow their crops. And what was happening in the area where he lived is many of the farmers were just growing cotton over and over and over again. It's all they were growing. And the cotton, every time they grew it, took the same stuff out of the soil. So all of the nutrients were beginning to be depleted. They were beginning to go away. And so their crops were getting smaller and smaller. Well, he learned that what you could do is if you didn't always grow cotton, but you changed, and this year you grow peanuts, and next year you grow cotton, and so you start alternating your crops. Then when the peanuts are growing, the peanuts put back into the soil what the cotton takes out of the soil. Then when the cotton is growing, it puts back in the soil what the peanuts take out. And he was so successful in teaching this to the farmers that he made a classroom on a wagon. And he would have the horses pull this wagon to farm after farm where he could teach the farmers better techniques so that they could grow more crops. Well, they were so successful that they ended up growing more peanuts than they could sell. So Mr. Carver solved that problem by finding new ways to use peanuts. And he found 300 different ways that you could use peanuts so that the farmers would have places to sell their crops. So that's one of the topics that we're going to be talking about in our story is gardening. Another topic is Halloween. And here's a couple of great Halloween books. And this picture shows a grand and glorious old mansion. And our character in our story today lives in a great big mansion like you see in the picture here. And the title of this story is Goldilocks and the Three Ghosts. So instead of Goldilocks and the Three Bears, what do we have? 3 ghosts. And so that's a Skybrary book that you can read about. And here's another book about ghosts from Skybrary, and it is called Haunted Party. Here's a couple of great books that are not Skybrary books, but a lot of fun to read. This one is called The Ghost Eye Tree, and it's from Bill Martin and John Archambault. And it's about a tree that grows out in the forest that a lot of the kids are scared of because it looks like it's got a ghost in it. So if you like scary stories, you might enjoy that story. This is a really fun story about a witch, and oftentimes people dress up as witches for Halloween. And this is called Room on the Broom. Well, this poor witch is flying around and she keeps dropping things off her broom. And every time she drops something, an animal picks it up, and she flies down on her broom to retrieve what it is that she's dropped, and the animal gives it back to her, but says, "But can I go for a ride?" And so she has to keep making room on her broom for all these animals that keep picking up the things that she drops. This is another fun witch story. A lot of times, what we are doing is taking old songs and old stories and putting in our own words and rewriting them, and real authors do that very same thing. This is an old story where an author took the old book about the Little Red Hen. And in the Little Red Hen story, the Little Red Hen has a garden. And when she grows things in her garden, she has to water, and she has to hoe, and she has to take out the weeds. And then she has to retrieve the things from the garden. She has to pick them. And then she makes her food out of them. Well, each time she asks someone to help her grow the food, they tell her, "No, we're not going to do that." But when she gets all done, and here's this wonderful food to eat, she says, "Who's going to help me eat the food?" And they're all willing, but she says, "Nope, you didn't help me grow it, so you don't get to help me eat it. I'm going to eat it all by myself." Well, this witch, because it's a Halloween story, she's growing pumpkins, and nobody will help her. But when she gets the pumpkins all grown and she makes something great out of them, everybody's willing to help. And what does she tell them? "Nope, you didn't help me grow it, so you don't get to help me eat it." Well, our story today is going to be about Griselda Green. And Griselda Green lives in a mansion like I showed you a picture of here in Goldilocks and the Three Ghosts. So here's this great big mansion that she lives in. And one of the things that she likes best about that mansion is that there's a garden behind it. And in the garden, grapes grow. And she loves going out and growing the grapes and picking them and then eating them. So one day, it was October 31st, but she forgot all about the date. Do you know what is special about October 31st? It's Halloween. So she didn't remember that it was Halloween. So she goes out into her garden, and the first thing that she does in her garden is she has to pull the weeds out. Now, the weeds can be kind of dirty. So when she's pulling the weeds, she has a grimy pair of gray gloves that she wears. And you can see here, these are ones I use when I work in my garden, and they're pretty dirty. But that's when you're pulling weeds, you don't want to have nice clean gloves because they'll just get dirty. But when she's all done pulling the weeds and she's ready to pick the grapes, she doesn't want to get them all dirty and grimy. So she puts on a nice clean pair of gray gloves for her grapes. Well, she's out in her garden on October 31st on Halloween night. Isn't thinking at all about Halloween. She's taking care of her grapes. She gets all the weeds pulled, and now she's starting to pick the grapes. And she gets a really strange feeling. And she hears kind of a strange sound. And then she looks over at her garden gate, and what does she see? She sees these ghosts gliding right through the garden gate without even having to open it. Well, now you can see here, she's kind of scared at first when she sees those ghosts. But then she sees them smiling, and she thinks, well, maybe they aren't so scary after all. And so she takes her grapes, puts them in a nice clean gray glove, and she holds out her glove for the ghosts. And the ghosts take the grapes and gobble them down. And they enjoy the grapes so much that when they're finished eating the grapes, they hold out their ghost hand. Griselda holds out her gray gloved hand, and the ghosts take hold of her and gently float up into the sky. So all Halloween night, here's Griselda Green with the ghosts floating over the grand mansion, looking down at the garden until the first glimmer of daylight. Well, as the glimmer of daylight comes out, the ghosts need to disappear. So they glide softly back down to the ground, they let go of Griselda, and they glide away. So now, here's Griselda hoping that next Halloween night the ghosts will come back and take her gliding again. And here she is waving goodbye as the ghosts leave on Halloween night. So when you see our picture of Griselda Green, I want you to think about gliding. I want you to put your arms out like this, like they're wings. And as you glide along, go G for gliding. Now, if we put that into Are You Sleeping, what's it going to sound like? Are you gliding? Are you gliding? Griselda Green, Griselda Green. Griselda's bells are saying, Griselda's bells are saying, ging gong ging, ging gong ging. What's it going to say for a drum? Are you gliding? Are you gliding? Griselda Green, Griselda Green. Griselda's drum is saying, Griselda's drum is saying, gata gat gat, gata gat gat. What would happen with our puppy? Little puppy, he says, woof, woof, woof. Griselda's puppy, he says, what is he going to say? Goof, goof, goof. Now, like our other characters, Griselda has her very own song, so warm your muscles up. And I'm going to teach you the song and the gestures. Okay, so first, Halloween might be a little bit scary, so show me scary like this and sing back to me. It was Halloween, it was Halloween, when Griselda Green, when Griselda Green. Now you're going to show me gliding, and then you're going to show me opening the garden gate. Sing, ghosts are gliding through my garden gate. Sing, ghosts are gliding through my garden gate. Now show me her gazing. Now gazing is looking like this. Griselda gazed from the garden gate. Griselda gazed from the garden gate. Sing, ghosts are gliding through my garden gate. Now how are you going to make that letter G for Griselda Green? Here's our nice big letter G here. And this is a capital G, and here's a lowercase g. And you can also see a different way to make a G over here. So there's two different ways to make a small g or a lowercase g. So I'll show you how I'm going to make my G, but you can make yours any way you like. I'm just going to make a capital G by kind of making my hand like this, and then make the line through it this way. But you can do yours any way you want. G's for ghosts. G's for ghosts, gliding ghosts, gliding ghosts, gliding through the garden gate. Now a grin is a great big smile, so pull your mouth up into a big smile. Oh, they gave a ghostly grin, oh, they gave a ghostly grin, and took Griselda gliding with them, took Griselda gliding with them. Sing, ghosts are gliding through my garden gate. Okay, let's try that again with the gestures, this time without stopping, and then we'll try it with our recording. Ready? Show me scared. It was Halloween when Griselda Green sang, ghosts are gliding through my garden gate. Griselda gazed from the garden gate. Sing, ghosts are gliding through my garden gate. G's for ghosts, gliding ghosts, gliding through the garden gate. Oh, they gave a ghostly grin and took Griselda gliding with them. Sing, ghosts are gliding through my garden gate. What's your sound for ghosts? G. Okay, let's try that now along with our recording. Okay, so get ready to show me scared.
It was Halloween when Griselda Green sang, ghosts are gliding through my garden gate. Griselda gazed from the garden gate, sing, saying, ghosts are gliding through my garden gate. G's for ghosts, gliding ghosts, gliding through the garden gate. Oh, they gave a ghostly grin and took Griselda gliding with them, sing, ghosts are gliding through my garden gate.
Okay, when you get your paper now for Griselda Green, here's our capital and lowercase g, and then here's another way to make a G up at the top. So you can rainbow write over those sounds. And now we've learned one sound for G was G. But some of our characters have more than one sound that they like to make. So a G can either be used to spell G, or it can be used for Jenny Jaguar sound. It can go J. So if you come to a word and it has a G in it, how do you know whether to go G or J? Well, you have to just see which one makes sense. If we have a girl, is it going to say G or is it going to say J? This isn't a girl, it's a what? It's a girl, so it goes G. And if we see the G at the beginning of goose, this isn't a juice, because juice is something that you drink, like orange juice. This is a what? Goose. So at the beginning of girl and goose, what does it say? G. But now here's another word that starts with a G. What kind of an animal is this? This is a giraffe, and there's the G at the beginning of giraffe, but he's not a giraffe. What is he? He's a giraffe. So at the front of giraffe, it goes J, but at the front of girl and goose, it goes what? G. And you just have to try them both and see which one works. But try G first, because most of the time it will be the G sound. So now when you get your paper and you turn it over on the back, I want you to think of things from your life that are somewhat like Griselda Green. So maybe you have a garden, and you can tell me about what kinds of things that you have to do to grow food in your garden, and draw a picture of that and write a sentence. And again, when you write it, you can write it in your way of writing, and then your teacher or parent can show you what it would look like in a book. You can think of things that are scary. So you might draw a picture of something that you find scary and write a sentence about that. Or you can write a sentence about what kind of house you live in. What did Griselda Green live in? She lived in that grand and glorious old mansion. Well, you can tell me about where you live. So I hope you enjoyed our story of Griselda Green. And in our next lesson, I'm going to tell you another story. So I hope to see you then.